time I have to be very brief, and I will move to the next speaker, Dr. Rakesh Tripathi. He is Assistant Professor in Department of English and Foreign Languages, Faculty of Arts, Communication and Indic Studies, Sri Sri Arvind University, Cuttack, Odisha. Recently, I came across his book, Swami Vivekananda, The Journey of Spiritual Entrepreneur. So he has given a very interesting title, Spiritual Entrepreneur. So we are looking forward to you, Dr. Tripathi, your views on this very interesting nomenclature. So over to you. And please be brief because we are running a little late. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. With the permission of the chair, I'd like to begin. Well, for me,
please.
the journey that you've just talked of, language was the medium to discover Swamiji's mind. Fortunately, my doctoral research too has been based on Swamiji's speeches, most of his discourses that have been there. And having worked for a very long time on those discourses, I was somewhere able to see that what is going on in his mind is clearly there before me. And that being clear, I could very well relate it to the action that followed on his part. And having gone through most of the discourses that were there, I could see that he was a man of action. I mean, when this book got completed and I was looking for a suitable title, this is something that came to my mind, looking at all the experiences he had gone through, all the realization which he had voluntarily chosen to have, all the journeys that he had undertaken, all the wisdom that he wanted to see getting transformed into action. There wasn't a better title that came to my mind. And I do see that spirituality was the driving force behind the enterprise that he had in him. That enterprise did not remain confined to setting up the Ramakrishna Mutt and mission, but we can clearly see today that the Mutt and the mission have been the driving forces behind a lot of philanthropic work which is going on in the country and also in other parts of the world. So for me, Swamiji is truly a spiritual entrepreneur. This is how I see him. But at the same time, it would always be nice to connect a few dots and see how it turns out to be so. His life is no doubt known to all of us, how he grew as a child and what was the kind of upbringing he had. Apart from that, his early adolescent life was one which I think needs a bit of attention here. The upbringing being there and the kind of environment that prevailed in the country. This affected his mind to a great extent. And somewhere he felt that there was an inadequacy in terms of life as he was experiencing it. And that was the time when he thought of giving up the material life and taking up the challenge of experiencing a life, a journey, which otherwise is not normally sought at that age. And we must remember when he took up this journey, the choices were very little, very limited options were there. But he chose to become a monk and traveled across the length and breadth of the country. Now, as Professor Paranjpe said, we must look for the unknown side of Vivekananda. I think there's one of the points I'd like to bring to everyone's attention here, that Swamiji was a chance delegate to the Parliament of Religions. When he actually wanted to participate in it, in this grand event which was there, the entries were already closed. but he still took a chance. And I believe it is only a man of enterprise who can still think of traveling as far as America to participate in an event like this when the entries have closed. No other person than Vivekananda can think of doing so. And at every point, what we have is a sense of realization which adds to his wisdom. And that wisdom, as he clearly said, is not one that is to be confined in books, is not one that is to be confined in solitary caves, because it is no good there. It is one that has to be brought to further action. And this is where we have to look at Vivekananda from the state of ideation to praxis. We find that there's a very good unity of thought along with action present in Vivekananda. Whether he was in USA or in India, he was always in touch with his brother monks at the mutt. And I think if we look at it in today's context, today when we are all affected by the pandemic and we are either working from home or looking for alternate means of how we can best operate, we can still see Swamiji effectively operating and controlling, directing his brother monks for all the activities that the mutt has to undertake, even to the extent of asking them to take up social work to help people in times of earthquake and all other such relief activities that were to be undertaken. Now, what is also important in the process is when we talk of this journey, as society evolves, what is the kind of road that we have ahead of us? Now, one of the points of reference for me would be India as a nation, the modern India that we look at, the one that we have been consistently thinking of rebuilding. And fortunately, I being one of the speakers at the end of the session, having listened to the esteemed panelists speaking before me, my job becomes easier. My points will be complementary in nature that way. So when we are looking at the journey of traveling towards making a new India, a modern India, what are the values with which we are undertaking this journey? Society is constantly evolving. It is constantly transforming. Every other day, it's a new challenge for us. The point I'd like to go back to again is, with what set of values are we facing these challenges? This is a pertinent question that we face today. It is much on the same lines as Swami Vivekananda faced more than 150 years ago, I'd say. Not 150, but yes, as a monk, when he spoke, when he thought of the problems of India, I'd say every nation goes through this stage. And starting with India, or even if we look at the level of a single individual whose pain, whose experiences were the ones that affected him, that's a microcosmic unit to the macrocosm that is there. Swamiji could relate very well to both and could see what was to be done at the initial level, so that the macrocosm is one that is bereft of those problems that we are experiencing. Because even today, the problems are not over. We have crises all around the world. Somewhere it's political, somewhere economic, somewhere religious, fragmented ideologies. Everything is still there. We are experiencing them in different ways. Just like us, just like the humans, the problems have also evolved. But what is important when it comes to Swamiji is that he is able to tell us very simply what requires us to turn from human in the physical sense of the entity to humane, human with a E at the end. That is what we really need in present times. And the ideology that he talks of, as I said, is a practical one. I'd also like to briefly refer to my book, where I always had this thought in mind, because at some point during my research, I found that Swami Vivekananda also wanted to write a book. So the question for me was, what is it that he exactly would have written, or what is it that he would have written had he been there among us today? So I again went back to his speeches, searched for those very things which he has time and again talked about, whether it was America or England or India. He time and again spoke about it. The ancient scriptures are the base for it. So in my book, I have tried to bring those points out together in one place. I have put forth them as some of the values around which Hinduism needs to be looked at again. If we are practicing Sanatan Dharma, is it really along those set of values? Is it really leading to the kind of change that we are looking forward to in the society in which we live? Or is it only a matter of speaking? Is it only a matter of reading? Speaking or reading without realization, without experiencing the truth. Even Swami Vivekananda did the same. Right from his initial apprenticeship under Sri Ramakrishna till the last moments of his life, he always said, never just accept truth. See, practically experience how you can validate it. Your validation of that truth, and that truth only would be the truth, is one of the things that's missing. Character building, as he said, is again to be based on these set of values. And it is important because whatever we do, whatever karma, whatever action we talk about is based on how we have ideated, how we have thought about things, and how we have come to have a realization of that wisdom on which our action is to be based. I'd like to know from Dr. Gaur if I have more time.
Yeah, we are running late, so it will be good if you can.
So I'd like to conclude with these lines. And as I have clearly mentioned this in the opening part of my book. And it is again because I look at Swami Vivekananda as a man of action. It is from the Taittiriya Upanishad. I will just read out this short invocation. Sahna vavtu, sahna bhunaktu, sahviryam karvavahe, tejasvinamadiitamastu ma vidyeshwa. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. I'll briefly translate this into English for the ease of understanding. May we work together in peace and harmony and enjoy the fruits of our efforts by sharing with others. May our study be vigorous and fruitful. May we not be jealous of others' achievements. May peace prevail on earth. With these words, I'd like to close. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rakesh. Your speech was as interesting as your book, and I know we are having paucity of time. We love to hear you more. Maybe sometime we can have book discussion on your book and can know more about the various
it would be a pleasure
what you have mentioned. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.